Have you experienced the awesome power of the Panasonic Real 3DO system? Obviously.
Presenting 3DO, the most advanced home gaming system in the universe. It's time to put away your toys.
3DO from Panasonic, Gold Star, and Creative Labs. A new low price and free games.
Mind-blowing graphics of Panasonic Real 3DO.
3DO.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the 3DO Experience, the 3DO Retrospective Podcast, where we talk about the 3DO company, the console, and everything in between. I am Bill, and this is Threk. How you doing, Threk?
Oh, I'm all right. It's been kind of a day, but I'm hanging in there. How are you?
I'm doing all right. We're like super busy at work right now, so I'm like doing like these like rush jobs, but like I'm also like multitasking on like 3 other things at once. So
it's your life as a podcaster, isn't it?
Kinda.
Yeah,
in a sense. But other than that, it's been all right. Just
that's good.
Getting through the week. Weather's finally warming up around here.
It's been warm for us for a while now, so and I don't like it.
See, New England is weird. Like, I woke up yesterday, it was like 60, and then this morning it was like 20. So, I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird. That's weird. I've been messing with emulation last couple days, particularly Sega Genesis emulation, because for some reason I've been watching so much of like Jeff Gertzman ranking the NES games. I thought, wouldn't it be interesting if I totally stole that idea but used it for the Sega Genesis instead? Right? I don't think he'd care. So I've been thinking about doing that. If the viewers are interested in that, let me know, because I am set up to like Twitch stream. I've done it before, but it's been a while. But I was trying to find like, getting the emulation right, and most people use RetroArch, but I've been having so many issues with it. Like, it's just a pain in the ass, particularly when it comes to this guy, the 8-bit Do M30, which is like a Saturn style like 6-button controller, and it's a great controller, but for some reason it doesn't sync to RetroArch very well. But I learned of a different multi-system emulator called BizHawk. And I've been using that, and it is so much better. Like, it doesn't look as nice, like it doesn't have a clean UI, but it's so much easier to use and just runs perfectly. Like, I don't have to fiddle with all these. Like, using RetroArch feels like it's using the PS3, which is like when you're trying to figure out some weird setting issue, you have to like go online to figure it out, to be like, where is anything on here? Whereas like BizHawk, I can just like go settings, like 2 things, and I'm there, So the only thing is I don't have all the game cover arts, boo-hoo, but it runs really well, and it supports retro achievements, which I've been kind of into right now. Retro achievements, they're pretty fun to sort of play those old games in that kind of style, and it's easier to get those achievements for those games because usually they're much smaller. Though I was playing Shinobi 3 and I was clearing round 1 no problem, but it wasn't giving me the achievement. And the only thing I could think is I was maybe using the unlimited shuriken code, and maybe it doesn't like that I use that.
It's possible.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, in Revenge of Shinobi and Shinobi 3, if you go into the menu, turn the shuriken counter to 0, and then go into the sound effects till you hear the sound effect of him throwing the shuriken, like play it, and then hover over the 0, and it'll turn to an infinity symbol, and then you're good for the rest of the game. So I don't know. What's cool with retro achievements, you can put like comments on the achievements being like, how do I get this or whatever. And so in that I put, is the unlimited preventing it? Because if it is, I'll turn it off and do it. But yeah, but if you guys want me to stream, I don't know, Booger Man or Jurassic Park or whatever on the Genesis, let me know, because I think it would be fun to do, So
Yeah, I remember the Genesis, like even like back in like the early emulator days, always had like the most like competent emulators, I think.
Yeah, it's from what I've gathered, it's pretty easy to emulate, and Sega doesn't care.
Like I
At
still
least.
have it's out of date, but I still have a Cake of Fusion on my computer. And I boot it up every now
Oh
and then.
yeah, yeah. Cake of Fusion's pretty nice. But yeah, like I don't think Sega really cares when it comes
Sega
to the emulation. They're just like, yeah, sure.
Sega only doesn't like when you mess with modern stuff because it's brand new. Like, but like
That's
their
fair.
old shit, they don't care.
Yeah, that's fair. But it's kind of topical with the whole Yuzu thing right now.
I think the only time Sega ever cared was that when they killed that Streets of Rage remake. But I think that's because they were doing Streets of Rage 4 at the time.
I don't remember that.
There was a Streets of Rage 2 remake, I want to say that they were making, and I remember it was like one of the few times Sega went and like killed something.
Huh.
But I remember because like Streets of Rage 4 got announced like shortly after, I believe, or like a year later. So it makes me wonder if that's why.
It's possible. So, but who knows? But yeah, the whole Nintendo Yuzu thing, like, did Nintendo go after Yuzu because Yuzu had like a Patreon, so they were getting money from people?
That's my guess. It's really hard to tell with Nintendo sometimes because they really do just tend to throw lawsuits around like crazy sometimes.
But if you notice, they don't go after emulators all willy nilly. Like emulators specifically, they don't like. They've never. Well, they only went after Dolphin for like because Dolphin wanted to go on Steam.
Yeah.
And then Steam's like, oh, we have to check with Nintendo. And Nintendo said, oh, if you do that, problem. So they didn't do it. And then Nintendo, I guess, had somebody go through their code and found like the whole Wii key thing. But I think that got resolved. I don't know. As far as I know, Dolphin still exists as it is. But like all the other notable Nintendo emulators kind of are still exist. Like Nintendo doesn't go after them. They typically go after the ROM sites, which is the more like legally illegal part. Like an emulator isn't illegal in and of itself, but
No, they're Bleem proved that like years ago.
yeah, and Nintendo doesn't want to open that case again.
Yeah.
So and then you see like people on Twitter just being really annoying about it. People who like are pro Nintendo, like deep throating that boot, and then people on the other side who are just like, oh, I always pirate Nintendo always because it's always the right thing to do or whatever, and they're just as annoying about it,
Yeah, it's like both sides of the extreme.
Yeah, it's dumb, like I don't give a shit what you do, but I can understand why a company would go after something like this when it comes to it's more modern stuff that they are still trying to sell you. But when Nintendo went after, what was it, Citra 3DS emulator, that felt petty just because they
Yeah.
discovered they were doing that as well, and we're like, oh, we'll do that as well,
See, what I found interesting about the whole thing was like I was thinking back to like the Kinectix emulator from like decades ago.
Mhm.
And I remember because that one was famously like sold on store shelves, and like there was going to be like an Apple, like Steve Jobs famously like promoted it at one of the trade shows. And the only way Sony got rid of it was ironically they bought the company and discontinued it.
Oh, that's interesting.
Like they couldn't legally, they lost every lawsuit because like basically the courts were like, they didn't illegally steal any of your data. They legit made it from scratch and it's perfectly legal. As long the reason Sony was mad is because people were finding ways to burn discs and do stuff which could get around actually buying the games and such.
Oh yeah. And to
which-
be fair, in their situation, I would understand why they would care.
Yeah. I just find it really funny that Sony's like solution to like this like problem they couldn't get rid of was they just bought it and discontinued it.
If you can't beat them, buy them, right?
There's a lot of theories that that's how PlayStation 1 emulation has been possible on all these consoles for years, is they've been just using the Kinectix software.
It would make sense if only Sony actually used that PlayStation 1 emulator or emulation on their own little service.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't keep that with 4 and 5, considering it's so easy to emulate PS1.
Yeah, and when like it's in the PS Plus Premium tier, you can have like PS1 games, but like aren't the pickings very scarce?
Yeah.
Like I haven't looked at the list, or anything, but I imagine it's not great because people are saying, oh, the NSO offerings are better.
Yeah, I haven't. I mean, I have Sony physical PS1 games. It's not even something I bother with, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's not great. I know Bleem, on the other hand, was more of a case of like Bleem's whole gimmick was that they were not only were they emulating the PlayStation games, but they were making them look better um,
Ah,
via software acceleration, and they were also releasing them on the Dreamcast, which Sony was not amused by.
that's fair. That's fair.
But Bleem won all their lawsuits. The only irony, the sad irony is they may have won, but Sony just kept suing them until they went bankrupt.
I guess it worked.
It did.
Yeah, I found a list of them. We won't go through all of them, but it's it's not great. There's one Ape Escape game. I'll give them that.
Two,
Ape,
I'm guessing.
just Ape Escape. That's all it
Original.
is.
Oh, the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a bad game.
Ape Escape 2 is on the PS2 one.
Yep. No three. Not the best in the series, but
Nope. So, oh, they have War of the Monsters on there. That's great. That's an awesome game.
yeah. I mean, I'm glad they're doing something, but I mean, like most things Sony does, it's kind of been half-assed lately.
Yeah. Do you think they're getting into that like PS3 mindset again, where they don't have to try as hard? You think?
It's really hard to say. 'Cause I honestly have no clue what any of the big three are really doing right now.
Well, Nintendo's just doing what they always do, really. I think
Well, yeah.
we're all just kind of waiting for when they decide to tell us about the next Switch or their next console, which I imagine will be soon. My guess is within either this month, like we'll probably hear about it before June, I think. Especially if it got delayed next year. I think we'll hear about it within 3 months, I'd say. Xbox is, just doing what they do. I like I mean, they have first party games on coming up opposed to, Sony, so but we'll see. But it's okay because when PlayStation doesn't have any first party games, articles come out saying that's a good thing. That's fine. That's okay. But then if Xbox did it, everyone would be like, "Oh, they're dying and they should just quit." Like it doesn't click, man.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, gaming journalists are hacks anyways for the most part.
Oh yeah. There's a couple I like, but not
I mean, it's like the real media. There's the few that are really good and the rest are kind of shitty, but
exactly.
It is what it is.
Yeah. As long as you're out there playing your classics, you're doing all right.
Yeah.
It's coming, everybody.
You know the funniest thing, I shared so I got the physical copy of Plumbers Don't Wear Ties for Switch. I shared it on Reddit. My God, the comments were so brain dead. It wasn't even funny.
What did they say?
They were like all like they made it an anime ? Because I had the anime cover out. It just looked better.
Which Reddit did you post this in?
The 3DO Reddit of all things.
I'm sure if I go in there, do they know about our podcast?
No.
You should put it in there because then we might get some weird people.
I was tempted to, but they seem like the kind of people that like would get mad for self-promotion, so I just haven't.
When we do the Plumbers Don't Wear Ties episode, just post it in there. See what happens. See what happens. Yeah.
I was more shocked by the.
I found the post. So
yeah, just some of the comments were like, guys, like it's not that serious.
It is what it is.
Also, because I spelled I misgrammared and put copies with a Y instead of IES, and I got like 5 Redditors going copies with the IES, and I'm just like, go away, you freaking losers! No one cares that much.
It's fun.
Yeah, but yeah, that's coming, guys. I have things to say, so But I mean,
I,
there's a lot.
I do too. I actually already have things to say, but I'm not saying them just yet. But
Yeah.
I let's see. It has, because I promised I would do it. My controller was turned off. It has 21 achievements,
Oh,
and
gee.
I will be getting all of. They all seem very easy to get. Like most of them are just like, oh, unlock blah blah blah, like unlock a behind the scenes photo, and then there's like one related to the Plumb the Depths side game, which I haven't played yet. And then there's one that says encourage the feline to make its signature sound, and it's make the cat bark. And I don't know what that means yet. So
We'll find out.
we'll find out. I will let you all know.
Yeah. Other than that, though, for this episode, we're actually going to not be talking about a game or the 3DO itself. Kind of, it might get mentioned here or there, but we're actually going to be talking about a developer who was very prolific on the 3DO, and that is Crystal Dynamics.
Like a good studio, I would say. At
Arguably
least
one of the most iconic in like the more recent times.
they've become more notable for their adoption of the Tomb Raider series and
Mhm.
really being the reason that series still exists. You know, in fact, I've heard some people say when Crystal took over, that's when the series actually became good as far as like gameplay is concerned. Because they started, I think, with Tomb Raider Legend. Is that
Yes.
right? Is that the starting point? Yeah, and people say that game holds up. So
Legend, I still think is like one of the better games of that style pre like second reboot, I'd say.
yeah, because I've now played through the entire reboot trilogy, and I thought all three of them were really really good.
Mhm.
Um, like I think they all had something about them to make them stand out from the other. But I think overall it was a really solid collection of action games that had a modern that took Tomb Raider and put a modern spin on it. But it still was Tomb Raider. You know, people often compare them to say to Uncharted, but I feel like they're different enough from
Yeah, I
Uncharted, you
think
know?
Uncharted, I think Tomb Raider. So I've played both series. I haven't played the final Tomb Raider yet. I've only played the first two. I'll get to it eventually. But the way I've looked at it is the major difference I find between Tomb Raider and Uncharted is I think Uncharted has better storytelling. I think Tomb Raider has a better gameplay direction,
Yes.
which is really interesting to me because the lead writer for the first three Uncharted's was a former Crystal Dynamics employee. So
They
we'll be
did they work is it they work on Legacy of Kain?
Amy Henning. Yeah, she was the lead writer for Legacy of Kain.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, she worked on the Tomb Raider reboots?
Not the Tomb Raider reboot. She had left. I think she left shortly before they started working on Tomb Raider games because she moved over to Naughty Dog and started doing
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Uncharted.
Yeah, and now she has her own like studio, I think.
Yeah, because she got like shuffled around a bit because she left Naughty Dog during the production of 4 to work on that Star Wars game right before Disney pulled the plug on LucasArts.
Yeah.
And then she kind of was all over the place for a bit there.
Yeah, looking she was the creative director and writer of the first 3 Uncharteds. She helped out on Golden Abyss. She's credited as a writer on Battlefield Hardline of all games. And she also did the story concept for Forspoken.
Oh, good
Yeah.
for her. Good for her.
Oh boy. Story concept, like what does that mean? It can mean anything. Oh yeah, I forgot she was a designer and artist on the classic Michael Jordan Chaos in the Windy City for the Super Nintendo.
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
if only that had a Sega Genesis version, I probably would have played it.
is it bad that I find that game to be slightly better than Shaq Fu, but not that much?
Well, I actually have never played this game. Is it just like a 2D action platformer type game?
Yeah, it's very. It reminds me a lot of the Home Improvement game. So
Looking at screenshots, yeah, like you could tell me it was the same dev and I'd believe it.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
like one of those things. Like, why did they make a game of this back in the day?
because they had Michael Jordan's likeness.
Well, yeah, because Michael Jordan's one of the biggest names in the world. So
Well, in '94, he was probably like, yeah, the most famous athlete. at that time. So
True.
makes sense. I mean, he's still a big name. Have you ever watched his Hall of Fame speech when he went
I've
to the
seen it.
NBA Hall of Fame?
Yeah. He's
It
an
is,
interesting guy.
but it's surprisingly bitter.
Hmm.
You know, you would think a guy who, for a lot of people, is still considered the best to ever play the game. It's just he used that time to like air out a lot of grievances he had, and it came off kind of weird. You know, that it's like
Yeah.
you're the biggest ever, but like you still have all these like petty things you've built up. You know, when it's like this is your time to be like, fuck those, I did it. Here I am. You know, I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know.
Yeah.
He's an interesting guy.
Yeah, but
Interesting
now we
guy.
have
He rocked a Hitler stash in one of his like I forget, it was one of the many things he did commercials for, but there was a couple where he had like just this for the stash.
uh,
And I was like, that's an interesting choice.
yeah, he's probably one of the few people that could get away with it just because of how big he is. But
Yeah. I mean, I noticed it. I was just like, that's weird, you know.
it's interesting because he co-owns a NASCAR team now.
Oh yeah, he does. Yeah.
They 2311 with Mr. Dennis Hamlin. And apparently the story is they just kind of were like, "You want to start a NASCAR team?" And he said, "Fuck it, why not?" And they started a NASCAR team.
Yeah, why not?
They're
Why
doing
not?
pretty good. They've won like 5 races. So
That's good. That's good.
for a
I feel
startup
bad.
team.
I feel bad for my mom because Brad Kozlowski. It just seems bad luck this year, where it's like there were 2 races where he was like doing really well, and then a crash happened and he was out. You know,
Yeah, plate tracks.
it happens.
But yeah, so Crystal Dynamics, they've been around longer than I thought, honestly.
They're about as old as we are.
Yeah, they
Well, actually,
were
they're older. They're older than us.
yeah, 31 years ago. They founded in 1992. Interestingly, they were founded by Madeline Canepa, Judy Long, and Dave Morse. And interestingly enough, those 3 were actually former 3DO employees that spun off. So this company kind of comes from 3DO in a weird way.
Is it like they're like how Activision is to Atari?
Yeah, in a sense. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so Dave Morse in particular, he was the founder of Epics, and he actually was the lead designer developer of the Atari Lynx. And then he later founded the studio that actually created the 3DO hardware.
Mm-hmm.
An interesting. Oh, go on.
The Atari Lynx, a interesting handheld, surprisingly kind of underrated.
It's
Like,
a really good handheld. It just
like
doesn't really have a lot
it,
of games for it.
well, it's massive, clunky, hard to use. Though, if you go through its library, what it has, not bad. No,
And the Lynx,
it's pretty decent for what it is. It's probably the closest thing you would get to like a portable NES at the time.
and I will say the Lynx 2 is much more comfortable and convenient.
Yeah, and a lot of games that were on the Lynx were also, I believe, on the 7800. So there was quite a bit of crossover. I've told that the version of California Games on the Lynx is probably like the best version of it.
It's pretty good.
And there's like a platformer on here that the 7800 version is garbage, like hot garbage, but the Atari Lynx version is actually really, really good. Scrapyard Dog. Looking at the
I gotta
list.
find that one. I've been looking for it.
Yeah. Y'all might know the cover. It's the dude has a big nose for some reason. Yeah, the 7800 version, I hate it, but the Lynx version, pretty good.
Interestingly enough, too, so if I'm butchering these names, I apologize. But apparently, Madeline Campina and Judy Lang, they actually worked for Sega at one point, and they were huge in the launch of Sonic the Hedgehog in America, and they're often named like the mothers of Sonic. Like they were big into the whole like localization and like his whole American debut.
Oh yeah, were they the ones that fixed up the
They Mickey
like
Moused him basically.
well, because like wasn't it Sega Japan saying like, oh, he needs the band and the girlfriend and all that, and they were like, no.
Yeah,
he doesn't need all that.
They also like were famous for like that Mickey Mouse looking design that he had in like the first 3 cover arts.
Oh, because I believe they had Sega of America artists redraw him to give them
Yes.
more of like an American look, which I also think was a good idea. Because yeah, it does soften him up a little bit, you
Mm.
know. And I think it gives him more Western appeal, you know, because the Japanese style wasn't really big over here yet, you know. But when you get to say Sonic Adventure, and they have that redesign that's much more like anime based, you know, it's used everywhere. Because by that point, it made more sense.
Mm. Nah, totally. I just find it interesting, like that how these Crystal Dynamics, I didn't realize had like quite the pedigree behind it when it was founded.
Yeah,
And they initially were basically a first party studio for the 3DO going initially. And they had a couple big names, like Mark Cerny was working for them for a little while.
good old
Um,
Mark Cerny.
yep. Name that's very well known in the industry these days.
Oh
Um,
yeah, Mr.
another,
Knack.
yep. And the father of the PS4 and 5.
That's true.
Um,
Terrible designs. Can I say that? I don't like how either console looks. I'm sorry,
PS
Mark.
PS4 was fine to me. The 5, yeah, that's a little busy.
I mean, the PS4 just looks like one of those pink erasers that you get spray painted black, and then the PS5 looks like that dude from Yu-Gi-Oh who has like the big collar.
Oh, Kaiba's jacket.
Kaiba, yeah, it looks like Kaiba.
See the PS4 generation. I always used to say you had the trapezoid eraser, you had the VCR, and the Wii U looked like a Fig Newton. So
Made by Fisher Price.
yeah, an interesting time for consoles.
Ugh.
Another big name that came from Crystal Dynamics, Evan Wells, nowadays probably better known as the president of Naughty Dog.
Yeah, how are they doing these days?
I mean, their games are still selling massively.
Yeah,
I don't like them very much, but
like, you know, still, I don't know whose idea it was to have them make a live service multiplayer game. That wasn't a good idea. Shocker! It wasn't. It from what I heard, it wasn't that good.
yeah,
Who would have thought a company that doesn't make those games
yeah,
doesn't make a good one?
unfortunate.
Yeah, very unfortunate.
Yeah. So we've already talked about Crystal's first game that they developed, and that was Crash and Burn. Not the greatest start.
we all got to start somewhere.
They've also made a few other 3DO games. They actually didn't make as many as I thought they did. They published a few.
Yes.
But they made Total Eclipse, which we'll be covering at some point.
It looks interesting.
It's not bad. They also made Off-World Interceptor, another interesting looking game.
That looks like it's the same engine as Total Eclipse.
So all three of these, so they actually all are the Crash and Burn engine, believe it or not.
That makes a lot of sense.
They also apparently helped develop the 3DO version of Samurai Showdown.
Yes. Yeah, my guess is they are probably the port team.
Yeah. And then their most well-known game,
Slam and Jam 95.
Hell yeah.
Well, they published that one. That was developed by Left Field Productions.
Yes. And then of course their final 3DO game was Gex.
Oh yeah,
we'll get to Gex.
Everybody knows Gex.
They also published The Horde, which I thought they made for the longest time, but apparently it was actually Toys for Bob.
Toys for Bob, our favorite new indie studio.
Yeah, yeah. The stories of their death were greatly exaggerated.
Well, did we talk about Toys for Bob last week? I don't think we did.
No, we didn't. I think we mentioned
because that happened last week. I think.
Yeah, like where it was like everyone they were like they're dead, and then all of a sudden it's like no, we're not, and it's like now we're free.
Well, I didn't think they were dead. I think like people were kind of talking about this whole. Some people were saying like, why would Microsoft let them go? And it's like, well, I think. If we all remember, Microsoft basically said Activision was just going to go kind of how they were. They weren't going to do much to change them up, right? Outside of letting Bobby Kotick go.
Yeah, get rid of that guy.
So, and Toys for Bob were just going to be one of those many studios at Activision that were just going to get swallowed up into helping out with like Warzone or something, right? In fact, if you go to their website, you'll see like, oh, we did Crash 4, we did the Spyro trilogy, we also helped on Call of Duty Warzone. Like it doesn't fit at all. So my guess is Toys for Bob probably saw the writing on the wall and we're like, well, because they're also doing Crash Team Rumble, but I believe all that like paid content is free now or something like that. So like Crash Team Rumble.
Surprisingly fun game.
Well, I think now if you want to play it now would be the time because everything's
Yeah.
there and ready to go. But I think they saw that outside of an occasional Crash game, they would just be helping out in Call of Duty, and that's not their strong suit at all.
No.
So maybe they went to Microsoft saying like, "Hey, is there something we could do?" And then Microsoft's like, "Well, you have to kind of go through Activision, and Activision doesn't want to let you go." And so maybe Toys for Bob were like, "Hey, we want to do our own thing." And credit to both of them. They let them go, which I think was good for them. But also they said is they're entering into an agreement with Microsoft, like a partnership. So I don't know if that means Microsoft's going to just maybe later buy them as like a little separate thing, just add them to the studios, or they're just going to keep them independent. I have no idea. I'm not saying one way or the other.
Keep them independent for a bit just to like let them see what they do.
Because I think it would be smart to well, Toys for Bob have said they want to do new IP, which I think is a great idea. I think it would make sense if Microsoft's gonna have them around and have like a partnership, like have them keep doing Crash, have them do a new Spyro game, maybe a Banjo reboot. I mean, they would be the perfect studio to bring Banjo-Kazooie back with.
Yeah.
Like they have all this opportunity for that side that they now own a bunch of IP for, and it would look really good if Microsoft's like, yeah, we're going to fund this stuff. Even if it goes, say, like Crash 4 or like Crash 5 or Spyro 4, like starts on Xbox and goes multi-plat, it's still a good thing that it's happening because Activision isn't going to let that happen, clearly. No. So it would be good for the industry as a whole if they did that. And also, if they made a Banjo-Kazooie reboot, people would lose their shit.
Yeah.
Like that would be huge. Like even if it's a full-on remake of 1, to be sure this is right, and then do like a sequel to Nuts and Bolts. I don't know the Kazooie lore, anyways. Like have them do a more traditional Banjo-Kazooie game. Like it seems too perfect. So I'm just afraid it's going to get messed up because it makes too much sense.
I'm gonna wait and see what they do because Toys for Bob is like one of those they're like one of those developers that like nobody knew existed for like most of their existence. Like, and then they made Skylanders and everyone was like, who are these guys that are gonna ruin Spyro? And then they fucking revived it and made it fucking what it is now.
Well, they also did kind of kill Spyro with Skylanders.
Yeah, and then they brought him back.
Yes, they did the trilogy of those. Yeah, but then they make games like Star Control 1 and 2, which I'm told are like fantastic, like space like simulator games. They did the Switch port of the Crash Bandicoot trilogy. They did all the Skylander stuff. Pandemonium.
Good game.
Yeah, then they did the Unholy War. That's right. That was them. Yeah,
they're a crap ton of licensed games.
Well, don't we all? So they do have a interesting history, but I think right now they're in a good spot. So I'm glad to see them, be let go.
I'm glad they made it because I'm still butthurt that we lost Vicarious, but
I'm still sad we don't like Raven. Raven Software is stuck
because
they're the Warzone. Well, they're the Warzone team now. That's what they do. Whereas like before that, they did a lot of really cool stuff.
Oh yeah,
and it's a shame that they're just stuck.
And then there's the dying husk of Radical Entertainment that's still there apparently.
Yeah, maybe we'll get a Prototype 3.
Yeah,
I doubt it.
But Crystal. Ironically, Crystal made a lot of sequels to games that they didn't create. Like they made Pandemonium 2.
Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah. Which was a good game, but it was also like weirdly edgy for no reason. They made the characters like extra sexy for no reason. Which I was like
the 90s?
I guess probably. And their most famous publishing game that they did not make, despite common belief, is Blood Omen Legacy of Kain.
That is true. Yeah, they didn't make that one.
No, that was made by Silicon Knights before that studio went insane.
But then they started making the Soul Reaver
Yeah,
ones, which
they
I think people tend to like more anyways.
so Blood Omen Legacy of Kain is an interesting Zelda top-down Zelda clone.
Yeah.
Um, with vampires. It's not bad, but it's very by the numbers, I guess you could say nowadays. It had some interesting story stuff. And then Crystal Dynamics basically just kind of like stole that series and they're like, this is ours now.
And then they just kind of ripped off Tomb Raider, but made it Soul Reaver, Legacy of Kain.
Arguably, they made it better, arguably.
Yeah.
Because I still say Legacy Soul Reaver is one of the most impressively programmed games I've ever played.
Yeah.
For that era.
Especially the Dreamcast version. That's the version I played.
It has no load times. It's really impressive. It's
very
like
seamless.
Jack and Daxter 1. Not as seamless as Jack and Daxter 1, because like you do notice, wow, this hallway is very long for some reason.
Yeah. It was sort of their bread and butter for a little bit, also mixing in like, Walt Disney World Magical Racing Tour.
Oh yeah.
Or Mad Dash Racing for the Xbox.
Yeah, Crystal made some weird games back in the day, which I find really interesting.
Whiplash. What the hell is this?
Oh, Whiplash does not get enough love.
What the hell is this thing?
So Whiplash, ironically, they made it after the Legacy of Kain series ended, which is really weird to me. So Whiplash, believe it or not, I believe from what I've read, this is the Gex team, and this is what they did after Gex.
Huh. Why didn't they just make it Gex?
I'm assuming because Gex is dated and they don't know what to do with Gex anymore.
But like the last Gex game they made was in '99. At that point, it was a deep cover Gecko.
Yeah, I don't know, honestly. It's never really been explained. Whiplash is a 3D platformer, though, and it is insanity.
It looks insanity.
It was actually it was criticized and had controversy because the game was apparently considered it promoted cruelty to animals, despite being cartoons.
Well, I think a lot of video games promote cruelty to animals without us realizing it, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, it was just part of the time.
Yeah.
Whiplash is a really fun 3D platformer, though.
Maybe I'll check it out. And oh yeah, they also did Project Snowblind, which is that game
that was their last original game.
Whenever I would go to like the rental store, or even these days when I go into a retro store, I always see a copy of this game. I've never played it. I know nothing about it. I just know whenever I see Project Snowblind, my first thought is, oh, that's a snowboarding game, because it was like in the era of SSX, and nope, it's just a first-person shooter. And my guess is that's exactly what it is.
So just apparently,
it's on Steam for $6. No, thank you. What a steal! Yeah, there's a couple 3DO games on Steam. Not that many though, but there's a few.
So apparently, Project Snowblind was originally began development as a part of the Deus Ex series, and then I guess it just evolved into its own thing, but it still kind of retains some Deus Ex elements.
It looks nothing like Deus Ex to me.
Yeah, that's probably why it changed into its own thing.
Yeah, and then that's when they adopted the Tomb Raider series. Is that the correct word to say?
It was more like their parent. It was taken away from its parent, and they just kind of were like, "Here, watch this now."
Somebody else needs to look after this.
It's like its parents killed it.
Well, because Angel of Darkness is bad.
It's like look what the parents did. Look what they did.
They called child services on them, being like, "Hey, can you save them?"
Yeah.
And then they only made 2 games after Angel of Darkness core design: Smart Bomb and Free Running for the PSP.
Yep, and they're apparently both average. And
yeah, though they did make one of the craziest games I've ever seen in my entire life for the PS2.
Hurdy-gurdy.
Yes, because a buddy of mine back in the day on his PS2. That was the game he had for it. I forget the story of how he got it. I think it was just like his stepmom just like saw it and was like, "Oh, he'll play this," and he played a shit ton of it. And I've been meaning to play it just because it looks so ridiculous. And
I've never
if
seen
you
it.
well, look at that cover. You've seen that cover, right?
Yeah, because I always used to mix it up with Oak Age. The it's another PS2 game that's like an RPG that's completely not related in the slightest, but it has a similar cover.
Yeah, this is like a weird like strategy game or something. Like I don't know how to describe it. It is wacky. It is wacky. I may end up playing this in the future and talking about it. So we shall see. But it looks fucking weird, dude.
I will say, Tomb Raider Legend, their first Tomb Raider, that is like by far my favorite like version of like Lara Croft's like design was.
Oh, Tomb Raider Legend.
Yeah,
Well, because
she's not ultra realistic, but she's also not like Tomb Raider 1, like stupid looking like levels.
It looks like they found like a middle ground of like her looking a little bit more realistic while still retaining what people liked, which is boobs.
I mean, they're not like she doesn't have a model that doesn't make sense. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, yeah. And it's weird that some people would claim that like the newer Tomb Raiders, like I mean, yes, they toned down the Lara Croft sex appeal, but like I don't know, it's still kind of there, but it's just not the main focal point anymore. Which to me says, oh, the games are good because they don't need the TNA to sell it. They could just be like, oh, just play this game. Isn't it a fun game? And it is. And I'm sure the Legends game, the like Legend Anniversary, I'm sure those games are good too. So what I've been meaning since I've finished the new Tomb Raider trilogy, I'll probably go back and play these because I am curious to them. And people still talk very highly of Legend.
Legend is a really good game. Anniversary, it's good. I just don't think Tomb Raider 1 is that good of a game, personally.
Mm-hmm. But Anniversary is like a full-on remake of it.
Yeah, it's a good game. I just feel like it's so an interesting thing about Tomb Raider Legend actually that I found out was they actually brought Lara Croft's original creator in as a one of the main writers for the game, Toby Gard, which is partially why it kind of like revived the series' roots in a way.
Yeah. It was probably a good idea to do that.
Well, because I believe Toby Gard left after the first or second game because he did not like the direction that Core was taking it.
That's fair. And then I think it's Underworld, which was the sequel to this one, was being done at like the same time as Anniversary.
Yeah, Underworld is interesting because it was the PS the next gen one, and there's like evil Lara Croft in it. Like it's like a shadow Lara Croft at one point.
Yeah, but wait, they all were PS3 360.
Was well, I believe Legend was part of the H. It had like an HD port.
Yeah, well, according to Wikipedia, Legend was released on the Game Boy Advance, which I need to find that copy, the GameCube, PC, the DS, PS2, PS3, PSP, Xbox, and Xbox 360.
So
and most of those were released at that time. The PS3 version is what came out in 2011, super late, but all the others came out in 2006.
Yeah, the PS3 version was part of the HD collection, which had it was a Legend, Anniversary, and Underworld in one convenient pack.
Gotcha. Because yeah, I know this was like that time where like the 360 was new, it was brand new, and a lot of games that were made for like PS2 or OG Xbox were probably just like HD'd like real quick and then just kind of thrown on the 360.
Yeah, because if you play Legend and Anniversary and you look at the graphics, you can tell right away that this is a PS2 game.
Yeah, it's like, oh, it's in HD, so it looks a little cleaner, but the assets aren't really HD. So
that's actually funny because they later re-released it in the HD collection on 360 again, despite all those games having standalone 360 releases.
Yeah, in fact, I have Legend in here because I think I bought it for like $3 or something. It was like dirt cheap. So I figured it was a no-brainer because I've heard people say good things about it. Yeah, there it is right there.
Oh yeah, it's got great story. I actually got all the Tomb Raider games up until like the 2013 reboot. in a Steam sale for $5. Like everything
What?
from Tomb Raider 1 to 2013.
Did you get the 2 Lara Croft like shooter things?
I don't think those were included. I think it was just the main series games.
Okay, I haven't played these. Like, I'm not even quite
So
sure what they are.
they are okay. They're interesting, actually. I have one
Guardian
of
of
them.
Light and Temple of Osiris.
So they're what's funny about those is those are part of the Legend canon. Like they're
Okay.
even though the reboot happened, they're still technically like the old canon. It's a weird
Yeah, it's
thing.
weird. Yeah, I know these both came out on Switch. I think it was last year because I had heard a rumor that like some Tomb Raider games were coming to Switch, and some people were like, "Well, they're not going to get 2013 on there, would they?" I mean, even though 2013 was on the 360,
The
but I
Switch
met.
could run 2013. That's probably it.
Well, Rise was 360 as well.
That's true. Well, that's like porting
Somehow,
wizardry.
that was port wizardry, absolutely. But even then, it's just like Tomb Raider 2013 on Switch would be weird, and it's like they could have just like did say Legend. I think people would have been like, "That's a weird old game," but sure.
Oh,
But
people would have ate that up because Legend is so
yeah,
popular.
yeah. But I think the Lara Croft spin-offs were probably like a good compromise because like the first one is like it was released on like Android and like phones and shit.
And then
So
got a PS4 physical port for no reason.
was that one of those like discless promo like physical games
You know, I never
where
bought
it's
it,
like
so
it had a plastic case, but you opened it up and there's just nothing in there but a download code, and that was like brand new. Because some
oh,
companies are like,
maybe.
oh, they just want the plastic case on their shelf, when it's like, no, we actually want the game in the plastic case, guys. That doesn't happen that much anymore, but for a little bit, that was a thing. I remember.
The Vita version of Minecraft was legit an empty case.
Yeah, which doesn't make any sense to me. Like, just don't bot. Like, you're gonna go through all that trouble of printing cases and all that. Like, you might as well just print a fucking Vita card at that point. Like,
Yeah.
you're already making the effort. It's weird, but yeah. Anyway, these games, what are they, like twin stick shooters or something?
Yeah, they're like top-down action adventure kind of games. They're little mini like adventure kind of things. They're completely harmless, but not required in any means.
They look cool. I'd probably play them. Like, I imagine with Tomb Raider, I'd probably play outside of the. Some people call it the Survivor trilogy, which I mean, I guess, sure. Either that or like the reboot trilogy. Outside of that, I'll probably play through like Legend, Anniversary, Underworld. I might check these two out. But like
I
the early games, I might avoid.
1 and 2 are worth playing, 2 in particular.
Well, there is 1 through 3 remastered, which
That's probably the way to go.
if that's ever like $10, I'll probably snag it, you know, and then get mad that they put a little bumper at the front that said, "Oh, these games are old, so they might have some problematic shit." Sorry. Which is funny. I say that because Plumbers Don't Wear Ties has the exact same thing. They even use the word problematic.
Of course it does.
Which,
oh yeah,
yeah, you saw it. Well, it's in the definitive edition. They have
Yeah.
like, look, it's basically like, look, this game was made in the 90s, so there might be some stuff in here that's kind of not cool anymore. Just letting you know. Which it's fine that they said that, sure.
yeah. There's no problem with that.
But at the same time, the people playing this game know what it is.
Oh yeah, if you're playing
So
Plumbers
you
Don't Wear
know.
Ties, you should know in advance. But
Yeah, you know.
they're just
In fact, before you even start the game, like a pre Plumbers Don't Wear Ties definitive edition review, before you even start the main game, it says, "Oh, there's this like little video. Do you want to watch it beforehand?" And you go, "Yeah, sure, why not?" And it's just like a 6-minute video of them being like, "Why did we do this? We're not sure. Maybe you'll tell us." Well, their main argument is that if we're going to be pro game preservation, then we need to preserve the bad stuff as well as the good stuff, which I agree with. I think everything should be preserved, no matter how good or bad it is.
Plumbers Don't Wear Ties. Last point on Plumbers Don't Wear Ties before the actual episode. That is a game that needs to be remembered just to showcase this is not how you make a video game.
I mean, if somebody tried to make a video game like that nowadays, either that's what they're going for, or yeah, they have just no idea what they're doing, and they should choose another career.
I'm honestly surprised we haven't got an indie game that kind of parodied the style,
Yeah.
like an
I- it,
ironic one or something.
it's probably for the best. I mean, we could probably do it, but no. No, I don't think we know any women who'd be willing to do something like that.
Yeah, yeah, we can't hire a local wrestler.
I mean, we probably could, but I don't know
I'm
if
sure
it'd
there's
be
one on.
worth it.
I'm sure there's one on Fiverr.
Though, no, if we were going to use a lady wrestler, I think like a Chelsea Green would be good for this. If you know who that is, I don't know how
Yeah.
much you know your wrestling lore, but
I don't know the lore. I know some of the names though.
okay, she would be a good fit for this. But in any case, yeah, Crystal Dynamics, yeah, they do Tomb Raider now,
And a really
they've
shitty
done a good
Marvel
job
game.
with it. Well, the Marvel game, the Avengers game, I don't think was their fault.
No, it wasn't.
I
It
haven't
was-
played it. I have no idea. I think it was on Game Pass for a while. It might still be on Game Pass. Maybe I should try it. Let me know, audience, if I should try out Marvel's The Avengers. Sure, if it's on Game Pass, I'll give it a whirl. From what people told me, the first half is like a standard kind of action adventure game, what you expect, and it's pretty okay. But then somewhere around the halfway point is where they introduce all that live service crap that just tanks the game.
Yep.
And from what I know, and from what some other people have implied, that was Square, because Crystal was owned by Square for a while. In like pushing for them to do live service stuff, and they're like, "Well, we're already like halfway through the game, So it seems forced. From what I'm told, it was like very forced in there.
It sounds
really-
a lot like Suicide Squad in a way.
Well, I think Suicide Squad, I don't know anything about that game at all, other than it looks bad. From what I've heard, it was made to be a live service game from the start. And it was just kind of put in there. But again, much like with the Naughty Dog thing, why would you have a studio known for making great single player games do this with like Rocksteady? And I'm worried for Rocksteady now.
I think they're dead in the water, especially because all the people that made Rocksteady great left.
Like, I feel they should get one more chance to like make a game that people know Rocksteady for. Like, maybe not another Batman. I don't know if we could do another Arkham game. I don't know, because I still haven't played Night yet, so I don't know how.
So
Does Night
is-
kind of end everything?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay. So they could do like the Superman game, because they said they wanted to do one. And I mean, maybe they could pull it off. I know Superman games are notoriously not good, but I feel like Rocksteady could maybe make it work. I don't know. But I feel like Rocksteady should get another chance. They shouldn't die because they were kind of forced to make this live service game for WB. And then WB is upset that it didn't do well, when it's like, well, you guys kind of made them do it. And that's not what they do. That's like if you got NetherRealm to make like a first person shooter and then got mad at them for it not doing well. Like, what'd you expect? That's not what they do.
Yeah. I think NetherRealm is mostly safe just because Ed Boon is very protective.
Well, and Mortal Kombat is like a big name in the gaming, and it always sells really well. And it being a fighting game, you can do like DLC and like kind of quasi live service into it, and people buy into it. So Mortal Kombat is a cash cow. It's a steady one for Warner Brothers, so they don't have to worry about it. And yes, Ed Boon does have a lot of clout as well.
Yeah.
We need that Shaolin Monks remaster. God damn it.
I know.
I need it so bad.
That is such a that game shouldn't be as good as it is, but oh my God, it's so good.
No, it's great. It deserves to be that great, especially when they tried to make other sort of action adventure Mortal Kombat games and they were terrible.
Well, yeah, it's the previous two attempts at that were Sub-Zero and Special Forces, and Sub-Zero has amazing cutscenes, but the game attached to it is shit.
So bad. And then
Special Forces is bad just in general.
Yeah, and Special Forces was so bad, the co-creator John Tobias left.
Yep.
But then I think it was right after that they did Deadly Alliance.
Yeah, and everything was back to normal.
And then Tobias formed his own company, and they made crap. What games did they make?
They made They made not Mortal Kombat, basically.
Well, that doesn't say much. Hold on. Let me pull up. What was the name of the studio he formed? Studio Gigante. That's right.
They made that one fighter that was like exclusively on Xbox, and it was literally just Mortal Kombat, but not Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, Tao Fang, Fist of the
Yep.
Lotus. Yeah, I and then and then they did WrestleMania 21 for the Xbox, which if it wasn't so buggy, it would actually be kind of okay. But that game is abysmal just because like the core of it is so bad.
Tao Fang wasn't a bad fighter. It was just when you played it, you really realized how much Ed Boon actually had in that series.
Well, Tobias was the artist. He did all the
Yes.
art, and Ed Boon was the programmer. He was the John Carmack, and Tobias was the John Romero,
Yeah.
basically. So when you let the programmer, if you still have the guy who's chonking away at everything, getting it just right, you can change the artist around, and you'll still have the same core game in there from a programming standpoint.
Yeah.
So, and Tobias didn't have that. I thought he was involved in what was that like Xbox fighter that was a bunch of like chibi like ninjas and shit. I can't remember what it was called. You probably know it.
I know it. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Kung Fu Chaos. Is that what it was called?
I think so.
I thought he was involved in that as well. I could be wrong on that. No, that was Just Add Monsters. Who the hell is that?
Just that's a team right there.
Ninja. It was Ninja Theory. What?
Oh,
Like I click on there. Just Add Monsters. It takes me to Ninja Theory. They were called Just Add Monsters from 2000 to 2004, and then they changed their name for Heavenly Sword. So the only
oh,
game they did as Just Add Monsters was Kung Fu Chaos, which I remember from the Xbox demo kiosks and liking it, but I've never played it beyond that. Yeah, and then they changed their name to Ninja Theory, and then did Heavenly Sword, and
made Goddess of War.
basically, and then Enslaved Odyssey to the West. I really want to play that game. It looks cool. DMC is in the backlog. They're the reboot that they did. I've heard good things.
It's a fine game. The story is garbage. That's basically it.
I feel like since I haven't played any of the Devil May Cries, this is how I should play the reboot. Just play by itself as its own thing, and
Yeah.
then go back and play the series. So then I have, two separate ideas of it. You know what I mean?
The way I view DMC is like it is literally like imagine if like you had like someone else make a Devil May Cry and they just tried so they basically it was like uber try hard. Like that's how bad like the story is.
Yeah, because isn't there the famous scene is that like he has on like a white wig, and then he pulls it off. He's like, oh, I look stupid.
No, it's even more of a slap in the face. It's literally he has a white wig on and he looks at the camera and just goes, "Not in a million years."
That's
and
funny though. I like that.
Well, it's funnier in context because a little mini spoiler, but at the end of the game, he gets his hair ends up turning white. So
okay, interesting.
So it's a little bit of a foreshadowing kind of thing, but at the time because fans, Devil May Cry fans weren't happy with that reboot from the start.
Yeah, I feel like it's and from what people have told me, they didn't give it a fair chance because the gameplay is really good.
Oh yeah, the game itself is fine. Very stylistic. The style that game has is very nice, and the side characters that they add, like the original side characters, are actually pretty cool.
That's good. I will be playing that this year at some point because I was gifted it in a Secret Santa, so I feel obligated to play it now. And it's the definitive edition, which I think they said just play that one.
Yeah, it's perfectly the way to play it.
Yeah, I forgot. Ninja Theory worked on Disney Infinity as well.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, along with Avalanche and Heavy Iron, like all these studios I like.
Heavy Iron. Oh,
I love Heavy Iron so goddamn much. It's a shame that they're in such a weird spot now. Like I don't know what the deal is with them anymore. Like they're owned by just some weird thing called Keyword Studios. So they just kind of do like Pac-Man Mega Tunnel Battle for Stadia or
Fat City, whatever that is.
What the hell is a Fat City?
Apparently it's really good. Apparently it's really good.
I don't even know what that is. I need to find out what this game is. But Heavy Iron famous for Battle for Bikini Bottom. Scooby-Doo Scooby-Doo Night of 100 Frights. That's a really cool game. The two Incredibles games from that era, which I have a soft spot for them.
Pretty much every Pixar movie tie-in from that time.
Yeah, yeah. And then they did Family Guy Back to the Multiverse, which is not a good game.
No, and then some weird fitness game.
UFC personal trainer. And now they're and then for a while they were helping out on like Call of Duty games. Like they're credited on Black Ops Cold War. They're credited on Crash 4 apparently. They did the Grand Tour game.
Good for them. Oh no. Awesome. Anyways.
Yeah. And they were going to do Toy Story 3, but the version Avalanche did became the version of Toy Story 3 instead.
Which, to be fair, Avalanche's version probably was better.
Oh yeah, that game is amazing. I love that game to death. And Avalanche is also a really good studio in their own right.
They are. They got killed off, and then Warner Brothers came in and said, "No, not today. We're gonna keep you around."
Do you want to do Disney Infinity? Or I think wasn't Disney Infinity their idea?
Yeah, and then Disney killed it off and just killed them with it, and Warner Brothers was like, "No, we'll take that. They're good."
And you're racing. Well, you're the racing guy. So, like, are the Cars games they made any good?
Cars 2 is better than the movie, and Cars 3 is just the Cars 2 game, but better.
So, is it just like an open world racing game, or what is it?
It's a kart racer. It's a really good one.
Okay, because I see it all the time, and people are like, "No, it's good." Like
So the joke with the Cars 2 game is like, wow, the game is better than the movie.
Okay, yeah, and then they did Hogwarts Legacy, which not I'm just gonna leave it at that, I guess.
Yeah. if you like it, play it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have a problem with
it's not their fault, okay?
No, I was the strong person who was like, hey, Avalanche didn't do any of that shit. Leave them alone.
Yeah.
You don't have to hurt them.
Yeah, like if you're angry at J.K. Rowling for the things she has said, as I am, direct your anger at her. I'm not going to direct it at Avalanche. Especially during the PR for Hogwarts Legacy, they were trying so hard to be like, we're not that. We swear to God, we're not that.
They're definitely not, because they actually legit put a trans character in the game. That's basically a middle finger to J.K. Rowling.
Yeah, and I think there are some trans people on the dev team as well. So
yeah. There's legit one of the NPCs that you can find is a trans character, and she's basically just one giant middle finger to J.K. Rowling. It's great.
Does J.K. know about it?
No, she doesn't give a shit. She got her cash already.
Yeah, I doubt she gets residuals from that game, but
I doubt it.
I don't know. I mean, she's rolling in dough. She's fine.
She probably signed off on it, said sure, and then took a nap in her pile of money.
Yeah. Hogwarts Legacy. Did you play it?
I played the demo of it. I'm not a Harry Potter guy, so I wasn't really super interested in it. I played a bit just to see, and it's fine.
Yeah, I'm not a Harry Potter person either. But I know like the people who are into that stuff like it. So
Matt was telling me his wife is really big into it, so
yeah, works for me. So
it's a good sign. I mean, hey, if they got a good game, good for them.
Yeah, and then what are they doing next? I thought they had announced that they were doing something else. I forget. But anyways, man,
It's funny how Crystal leads to so many other different studios, because there was like a weird smorgasbord of like game studios from that era.
Yeah, because because with Ninja Theory, I forgot to mention they did Hellblade, and I love Hellblade 1, love it to death, and I'm very, very excited for Hellblade 2. That's probably like one of my most anticipated games of the year. So I'm fascinated to what it's going to be. Like, I know some people are, I guess, worried about it as far as like when they said it was going to be like, oh, like a 6 to 8 hour game in that dev direct, and people got mad. And I'm like, did you guys play Hellblade 1? Like, I think 100% of that game took me 7 hours. And that's perfect for what it is. It doesn't need to be like a 15-hour adventure. It's not meant to be that. So if Hellblade 2 is just Hellblade 1 again, but a lot prettier, and hopefully some refinements in the gameplay, and maybe like an extra hour and a half, perfect. Perfect. That's all it needs to be.
It's really funny. I just kind of had this thought about Crystal Dynamics. They literally went from making games about geckos to vampires to raiding tombs.
Yeah. And it's funny, I mentioned the whole Ninja Theory thing with Xbox when people have been saying for a while that Xbox is going to buy Crystal, which, I mean, they might.
It depends if Embracer wants to let them go.
Well, I feel like, I mean, Embracer's kind of on fire right now, and Crystal and Eidos need to be saved. If there's any, I don't know the entire Embracer umbrella, but if there are two
It's
studios,
shockingly large.
oh, I'm sure if I looked at it, I would be amazed. But if we could save Crystal and Eidos, I would be fine. And I don't think anybody would get mad if Microsoft's like, yeah, we just scooped those two up because they're already working on stuff for them anyways. Like
Yeah.
Crystal's, as far as I know, Crystal is working on the Perfect Dark reboot with the Initiative
and another Tomb Raider.
a Tomb Raider, which is them trying to bridge all the story timelines together into one or something. Like they're trying to like Spider-Man it, where it's like it's all connected. That'll be curious to see. And I need to catch up so I can have some context for when I get there. So we'll see about that. And I'm curious to what the Perfect Dark reboot's going to be. Because I mean, they announced that one in 2020 and we still haven't heard a thing about it.
Yeah, they've been oddly quiet.
Well, I know the Initiative has had problems. Did you know
that Embracer owns limited run games?
Yeah, I knew that.
All right, I did not know that. They also own Dark Horse Comics.
Don't Dark Horse? Why?
They own Dark Horse Comics, apparently.
Jesus Christ!
When did they buy all this shit? Like, I'm reading through.
I think it was during the pandemic.
I guess they own Gearbox. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I knew they owned Gearbox, and honestly, I thought I heard a rumor that Gearbox was trying to go independent.
It wouldn't surprise me.
They should. Gearbox needs to be. Leave them alone. Let them be free. They deserve to be.
I like how they basically just took the dead THQ name just to have it.
THQ Nordic, yeah.
Yeah. Well, because Nordic Games was a dumb
name. And Saber's their own thing now. They went independent. They got some private investors and bought themselves out of Embracer. So Saber's on their own now. Good. And according to Saber, because now that they're independent, the Knights of the Old Republic remake is back on. Because It was gifted to them after Aspire. Because who was like, oh, Aspire should remake KOTOR? No, they port KOTOR. They remaking it, give it to Saber. Saber could do it. So
also, apparently, I didn't even realize this. Apparently, they brought back Free Radical Design and then proceeded to just kill them off.
Yeah, which doesn't make any goddamn sense to me.
Which means Time Splitters 4 is never happening. We just have to accept it.
Yep. Oh, they own Deep Silver.
They killed. Well, I don't think they killed Volition. I think Volition killed themselves.
Yeah, Volition killed themselves 1,000%.
So sad because they still made one of the greatest video games ever made.
Yeah.
Red Faction Guerrilla.
Oh, I thought you were about to say the Saints Row reboot.
Oh, fuck you want to talk about trying
they
hard?
They own Middle Earth Enterprises.
Purple Lamp Studios, my boys.
Purple Lamp's good.
They made a great SpongeBob remake, and then it was so successful they just made another SpongeBob game because why not?
Oh yeah, and they're doing the Epic Mickey remake.
Oh yeah,
rebrushed. Yeah,
I'm looking forward to that. Honestly,
not at $60 though.
Well, no, I'll wait till it drops in price inevitably.
I do want to play that though because I played it on Wii way back in the day. And was kind of on it. Like the game doesn't look good, and even these days, trying to play it like on this nice TV, it still doesn't look all that great.
That was a game that Disney hyped the fuck out of, and then it came
out
and it was kind of like it's fine.
I think the problem is they realized that if they're limiting themselves to the Wii, they had to limit their ambition as well.
Yeah,
and that's kind of what happened. I don't even know who made Epic Mickey.
Junction Point Studios and Warren Spector of all fucking people.
What the fuck?
Yeah, the Deus Ex guy.
The Deus Ex guy made Epic Mickey. What the hell?
Yeah, Junction Point made 2 games, Epic Mickey and Epic Mickey 2, and then they went out of business.
Well, they were going to do a Half-Life 2 episode, apparently.
Maybe they know how to count to 3.
Maybe. And then they were working on a game called Sleeping Giants, which probably is not based on the 1972 Jazz Fusion album by Herbie Hancock and his Mwandishi band. It was probably
not.
something completely different. Though a game based on that would be awesome. In fact, I don't think I have a vinyl copy of that, no, but I do have the CD copy. If you get a chance, look at the album artwork for that. Really cool. Really cool painting. But yeah, the Epic Mickey remake looks interesting. I need to see more of it, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very hit or miss game, so I'm hoping that they fix the hit or miss nature of it.
But I think it's one of those games we're all willing to give it another chance.
Yeah.
Because
no, the first one was good. It just wasn't perfect.
Yeah, but it's like, you know what? It's one of those. Let's see what happens. You know, like I'm not against it.
That's like how I feel about the Alone in the Dark remake, where I'm kind of like, I like what I'm seeing, even though there's not a lot to see.
Isn't that out now?
I don't think it ever came out. If it did, I completely missed it.
Let's Alone in the Dark. I played the 10-minute demo. That's just like the little girl walking around, which just made you go, "Hey, we're copying the Resident Evil remake style," which is the smart thing to do.
Which is
smart. The smart thing to do. Let's see. It's coming out the 20th of March, so very soon.
Couple weeks.
Yes, and I'm not intending to play it.
I'm going to, just because I have a weird soft spot for that series. But
well, if it's good, let me know, and maybe we'll do a special episode.
Yeah,
as like a follow up. I mean, we still need to do a Road Redemption. So
yeah, I mean
that'll come.
We did basically say Alone in the Dark is one of those games that's like, it was important in its time, but you don't need to play it anymore.
Yeah, but it'd be interesting to tackle a brand new game.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, as you said, yeah, Crystal just creates this like weird web of like all these developers that make all this like weird stuff, you know. But it's like devs that we know as like the weirdos, you know, whereas like normies are like, who the hell are you talking about?
Yeah.
But it's fun to dig through all this shit, you know.
I'm still amazed. Like, I didn't realize Crystal really did not make anything else but Tomb Raider after Legend.
Yeah, that's all really. Well, they did Marvel's Avengers.
Yeah, that was like the first thing.
Yeah, and they're working on that Perfect Dark reboot. And then, as I was trying to mention, I think I got lost in it. Eidos is helping out. I'm on the Fable reboots. Crap, I forget the studio is making that. The Forza Horizon team.
Guys.
Forza Horizon. Oh crap. Playground. That's right. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the Fable reboot. It looks really interesting. Hopefully, when we get the June showcase, maybe we'll get a little bit more, like maybe some gameplay. I'd like to see it. So, but I trust Fable's in good hands because Playground are really good. The Horizon games are fantastic, and you know they are British devs, and I get the sense they will keep that same level of humor and silliness that the Fable games are known for.
As long as they don't do a Peter Molyneux and just like overpromise everything and just make a good game,
I don't think. Yeah, I don't think Playground would do that. And plus, they have Eidos there to probably help them out with like the action RPG stuff because they've never really made a game like that. Like they know how to make a big world with a lot of stuff to do because the Horizon games are massive, so they know how to do that.
Meanwhile, Eidos Montreal knows how to make action RPGs very well.
Yeah, so I mean, it could end up being a banger, like a fantastic game. So. And I hope
get me to actually buy an Xbox just to play it. So
there you go.
Because I really do like Fable 2.
I need to play that.
But yeah, so Crystal, I'm not really worried about them. I think they're fine. I don't see them closing anytime soon.
Hopefully. I mean, with Embracer kind of not in a good spot, who knows what's going to happen. But I think with Crystal, they have they're doing so much stuff right now. Like, yeah, they are helping out in Perfect Dark. They are making a new Tomb Raider game. And those are, you know, IP that people know and care about. And I think the Microsoft association helps them as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if, say, shit hit the fan and then Microsoft had to come in and swoop them up to be like, it's either we buy them or let them die, and we're
Yeah.
bringing them in, and I think everyone would be like, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, by then, I'm pretty sure. Like, well, I mean, people already don't give a shit about Microsoft buying stuff anymore.
Especially if they're gonna make more stuff multi-plat. It's like
Yeah, I feel like
at that point, who the fuck cares?
I think that was the key that they used to get everyone off their back, right there.
Yeah, I don't think everything's gonna go multi-plat. Like I
No.
imagine like Halo, Gears, Forza, Fable, Sunset Overdrive.
Well, they don't even own that anymore, technically.
Yeah, but like certain things they'll leave on here because I feel like they should. And I wouldn't be surprised if they considered like Halo and Gears, but then they probably went, well, we need like those franchises are so iconic to our brand, they need to stay here. Like
I think they're more gonna.
they need
move,
some. It's like Hi-Fi Rush, Pentiment, the smaller stuff,
the
which
rare
I think is
Sea of Thieves. I'm very interested in. Like,
yeah, that would be fun. And apparently, it does have crossplay. I looked it up.
Thank God.
So
I can't wait for the day that crossplay becomes standard.
Yeah, I mean, hey, we could do some Sea of Thieves crossplay. I think that would be fun. It'd give me a reason to actually play it because I've been looking for a reason to play it.
I've heard it's good. Like I've heard it's rare. Fine. It's like old rare again. So.
Yeah, and I don't think Rare Replay will ever cross over.
No, I don't see that going anywhere.
Especially when the main audience is like Nintendo fans, and it's better to just like drip feed them into the NSO subscription. You know,
yeah,
because that's what they know.
Yeah,
so that's probably the smarter thing to do. And then if you just want the whole hit, the whole at right now, it's right here on the Xbox, so you're good to go.
Yeah, most Sony fans aren't even really clamoring for those rare games. So.
I don't think Sony fans necessarily care about Banjo-Kazooie.
No, the only thing Sony fans are really probably upset about is Crash and Spyro. That's really about it.
Yeah, but I imagine Crash and Spyro aren't going. Yeah, I imagine they will. They'll probably. I imagine what most Xbox exclusives that go multi-plat, they'll be on here for like maybe 12 to 18 months, maybe 24 max, and then move them over. That's probably what they'll do, and I think that's fair, you know. And then stuff like, you know, say Call of Duty, it's like, well, it's coming to Game Pass, you know. We'll see if that moves the needle. I doubt it'll move the needle much, but who knows? Not a big deal. I think as long as we still have the big three, we'll be fine. Because if losing any one of those three would be bad.
Honestly, yeah. And there's not like a competitor coming in to replace one of them.
No, like I've always felt that if we had Sega and we had the 4, the industry would actually be healthier. But
unfortunately, Sega was too.
They did it to themselves. They did it to themselves. So what can you do?
Yeah,
but yeah, I like Crystal. They're a really good dev team, and the games I've played from them, I've really enjoyed. I really liked the Tomb Raider reboot series. I thought they did a good job with those. I don't get the hate for Shadow. I think Shadow was really good. It's not as combat focused as Rise and 2013. It's a bit more puzzle oriented, but it's kind of what I liked about it. And the game's absolutely gorgeous because it's the only one that's optimized for the Series X and PS5. So the game looks phenomenal. And yeah, they're good. And I think Crystal are a good dev that have earned their pedigree as well.
Yeah.
And they have some weird stuff. Like in the past, and then they had like their like Soul Reaver era, and now they're like deep in their Tomb Raider era, and they might start doing bigger AAA stuff as well. Like if Perfect Dark hits really well, that could be a catalyst for them doing more stuff of that size.
Yeah. Honestly, Crystal. I think Crystal is probably the other big legacy that the 3DO kind of left behind.
Yeah. Where's the new Gex? Where's the AAA Gex game?
They've teased that so many times lately, and it's like I think at this point they're just trolling us.
I think they could do it.
I think they. I mean, I don't think it'd be that hard to make. I'd actually kind of. I know the popularity. This wouldn't probably be as popular, but I'd actually kind of like another 2D Gex.
Wouldn't be a bad idea. I don't know if I don't know if Crystal would want to do that. I feel like if they were to make like a 3D platformer, or hell, Toys for Bob is independent. Maybe Crystal goes to Toys for Bob and says, "Hey guys, do you want to do a 3D Gex game?" I'd play that. I'd trust Toys for Bob.
I'd play a new Gex. I'm just curious how they would do Gex's like humor. Like, would they try pop culture references again, or would he just become a fucking meme, like meme slinger?
I mean, pop culture references these days are memes.
Yeah,
It's pop culture, man.
I'm just imagining him slinging memes, like dead memes and shit.
I feel like if you did it in the right way, it would be funny.
Yeah, if they were like ironic about it.
Yeah, or if they did the joke of like, oh, Gex is washed up and he's trying to stay hip with the kids. Like,
honestly,
if that
would
was
be
the
kind of
shtick,
funny.
yeah, like an old Gex who's trying to like stay hip or whatever. Like they could make a reference to like maybe some kids see Gex and they're like, "Oh, you're the insurance salesman, right?" And he's like,
Yeah,
"No, that wouldn't be bad."
yeah, that would be funny. As long
I
as
think
they
there's
don't,
potential with Gex.
as long as they don't have him get down with a full motion video woman again. That's that's the last thing we need.
I don't think that would be allowed anymore.
No, that cutscene is so fucking hilarious.
Oh my god! And I thought the Sonic 06 stuff was bad, which is bad. That is worse.
Yeah, they straight up. She's like her grainy full motion video is sitting on the bed, and then Gex's CGI model just walks up. It's like, what were they smoking? They made this.
Oh my god! It was a different era, man.
Ironically,
Different
the N64 version just completely omits her from it.
Good. A rare time cartridge space limitations was actually for the benefit.
Yeah, God, that is such a funny fucking thing.
Yeah, and I remembered. Yeah, the Gex trilogy was announced by Limited Run, I think last year. But my guess is with them, it's going to be a long time till we ever hear about it.
Most likely.
Yeah, though to be fair, I think for this show we'd probably just do the first Gex. So
we'll probably just do the first Gex. We might cover 2 and 3 later.
Yeah,
like
I would like to play those. So I believe they're both what, PlayStation,
yeah, PlayStation and N64. Although the N64 version of Enter the Gecko is not very good.
Yeah, I would just for those. I'd probably just play the PlayStation version. They're probably not on Steam. I doubt it.
Don't think so. Gex 2 was hard to find anywhere for a while.
Let's see. I type in Gex and I get nothing.
Yeah. Thankfully, they're not really expensive games.
They might be on my abandoned. Well, I probably shouldn't get the PC versions of those if they've never been re-released. I'd probably just emulate the PlayStation 1 versions.
Yeah. It's not super hard.
Yeah.
Do you remember the advert for Gex 3 that was just Gex like spread across like her fucking boobs? And that was the ad.
I've seen that before.
It was like, Jesus, what a different time.
It screams desperation.
Yeah.
That's what it says to me, that they were like, oh, these games really aren't hitting. We need to do something.
That was the point where they realized I think Gex has hit his end of the line at this point.
Yeah. Oh, and yeah, it isn't the N64 cover of Gex 3 like him doing the Steve Austin thing?
Yeah, like because they completely changed everything.
It's like, why the hell? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, if they had made the games good, it would have been fine. Just easy peasy.
Also, like, it always throws me off whenever I hear like the British version of Gex because he's got like that like weird like Cockney accent in 2 for whatever reason.
He would be a north of England guy.
But then in Gex 3, he speaks in like jive talk, and it's really yeah.
Jesus Christ.
It's bizarre. I mean, thankfully we had the same guy for all 3 games. I'm blanking on his name right now.
John Gex.
Oh, God, this is gonna bother me. What was Gex's voice actor's name?
Oh yeah, that's the cover where he's like, yeah.
Oh yeah, Dana Gold.
Oh yeah, that's the cover of Gex 3 where he's holding the lady's boobs.
Yeah.
Like that's definitely a thing. I forget what it was, where like she's wearing like jeans but no top, and then she's like this, and then Gex is behind her gripping on the boobs, you know.
Yeah, a giant gecko.
Yeah. And I'm glad that one wasn't called Enter the Gecko.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh, jeez. But yeah. So Crystal Dynamics definitely one of the brightest stars to come from 3DO.
love them.
Honestly, like I think they were the second most prolific next to EA.
Yeah, I would say so.
We might find more as we go on, but
There might be some Japanese devs that were pretty prolific on the 3DO because the 3DO we haven't really gone into, but it had a surprisingly strong Japanese market,
hmm.
especially for what it was.
Yeah, I mean, and that's not even counting just the porn games.
For real. But even still,
That's why if anyone's trying to find a 3DO, you're gonna notice you'll find a lot of Japanese FC10s.
yes.
And,
And the porn games were American. There probably was Japanese ones. I just don't
oh,
know.
there was weird hentai games as well, but
Oh yeah, of course.
they aren't nearly as interesting,
That's sad.
depending on who you ask.
Yeah.
But yeah, next week we're covering the big one, so that'll be
Oh boy.
a fun time. But
Yes.
till then, guys, you can find us on all the major podcasting platforms, particularly Apple Podcasts and Spotify. You can find us on YouTube with a video version of the podcast that'll probably be up shortly before the audio version. And you can find all of our links at linktree/the Games. And if you'd like, you can join the GNC Podcast Network Discord server for all things gaming, collecting, 3DO, GNC, talk gaming, anime, all sorts of nonsense. And with that, guys, we will see you all later.
Bye-bye.
If you're not playing on a 3DO system, what are you playing with?